Good morning, friends. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be joining us from. My name is Caruana Gatimu. I'm with the Microsoft 365 Customer Advocacy Group, and welcome to the Microsoft Viva Community Call. We're so happy to start bringing everyone together in monthly community calls, and I'm not going to be doing this all by myself. Oh, no. No, I have help from a great friend. Lucy, you want to come and introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, I'm Lucy Hitz. I'm Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Viva team and excited to be here. Love this community that we've built and excited to run these with you.
Absolutely. We are going to bring information, inspiration, and lots of examples from the community itself so you can get the most out of Microsoft Viva. Now, you'll notice I'm not saying Microsoft Viva Foo. That's because we're going to talk about all the components of Viva here. We're going to have special topics and hopefully some special topics from some of you so that you can all see how Viva is being used really in the related to go through this information with you. And we'll always talk about the roadmap as well. Now, this is our first call that we're streaming live to our Viva community space on the Community Learning channel. And you can find lots of other community calls on that Community Learning channel. And you can find us on LinkedIn or on YouTube, and of course, on the Microsoft Tech community. If you have a question, make sure to put it in the chat. We'll be monitoring it and picking some lucky folks later in the show to be able to come on air and ask your question, or we'll answer your questions that are there in the chat. And I already see some good ones, Fairy Geek Mother. Thank you for that one. We're going to answer that later on for sure. Let's go ahead and just remind everyone that we do have a code of conduct. Our digital communities and events, basically, just let's be nice to each other. We don't support any sort of online harassment or bullying. And if you have an issue, you can always report that to us here at Microsoft, and we will take care of it. But we just want to make an inclusive and safe community for everyone to learn because that's what we're here for. Have a good time. And then next we're going to talk about our different resources that are available as well. So every time we go through one of these calls, we'll have some different announcements at the beginning. One of the things that we've been working on in my team and the customer advocacy group is to bring community resources together more centrally so that they're easier to find. And we have two amazing pieces of that. There's the Community Learning channel, where maybe you're watching us right now, all chock full of community calls and demos and tutorials, not just from Microsoft, but from people like you out in the field and our MVPs and experts. And then we have our community news desk that's actually on the Microsoft Tech community. And that's a central place where you can find out about calls like this, about events that are happening in your particular area, and anything that affects more than one product as well. Now we have a home for all that fantastic information. So make sure you check out those and subscribe to the YouTube channel because if you do, then you're going to get a notification about our show Mondays at Microsoft. This era of AI is really complicated, and there's a lot of things that are going on, a lot of them coming from Microsoft. Heather Cook and I could not keep up, and so we created a show. Every other Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, we spend a half an hour going through the news headlines of the last 2 weeks and what's upcoming in terms of community events, all of the product news around AI, modern work, Power BI, Dynamics, Power Platform, the whole nine yards. And we talk about some big rock that Microsoft is working on, sustainability or AI in government spaces, things of that nature. So we have a great time. It's fun. You can catch it on demand too. And what's most important about that show, frankly, is we list all the links to all the things we're talking about. So you can, again, in a central place, find all that information. So we are really excited to also talk about the highlights that we have on adoption.microsoft.com. If you haven't bookmarked this page yet, I highly suggest that you do, because this website is where we're bringing together resources to help you with your implementation, whether it's of Microsoft Viva, of Copilot, of Microsoft Teams, all in one place. And we integrate content from Microsoft Learn, from our product pages, from our field partners, and more to make it easy for you to help your users get the most out of all these amazing services. We're right now in the middle of updating all the Microsoft Viva content with our new implementation framework. There's so many people behind the scenes that are working on And we're really excited to make sure that you have access to everything. But every week, we're updating content out there and making sure that you have the latest and the greatest from folks who are actually in the field implementing all of our services. And next, oh, we have some beautiful slides. So this is probably the most fun part, and Lucy will help me with this, I'm quite sure. This is the roadmap. And since we're just starting this call, we're doing the roadmap in this format, but in the future, we'll also bring in like visual snippets and slides that you can use to make sure that you can share new capabilities that are coming inside your organization. We do that in the Microsoft 365 Champions call for M365 All Up. We'll make sure to do that here. And there's so much going on in Viva, Lucy. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I can kind of take us through this at a high level, and then actually we do have a few slides right after this that are a double click on what you see here. So, as you know, we have many Copilot features within the Viva apps that just help make those apps stronger, better, faster, easier to use. So for instance, Copilot within Viva Goals, which released. So you can write your goals, refine them, report out on your goals, share progress summaries, all with the assistance of generative AI. But then of course, we also have tools that Viva has built so that you can measure the impact of your Copilot investments. So we kind of work on those two levels. So strengthening the apps that already exist, and then making sure that you are able to measure your investment. So I'll just at a really high level go through here on what's been just released. So first, the Copilot and Viva Goals that I mentioned, goal customization in Copilot and Viva Goals. So being able to customize the kind of goal you're creating, whether it's an OKR or another kind of goal type. Copilot and Viva Engage has released our Copilot adoption templates. Again, I'll double click on a few of these in a few slides. Copilot and Viva Learning, our Microsoft Copilot Impact template, Microsoft Copilot and Viva Glint, integration into the Microsoft Copilot dashboard from Viva Insights, and then kind of the list goes on. And I'm going to take us into the next couple slides so I can sort of share a little more about the features we're most excited about. So the first is being able to communicate and build Copilot skills with the Copilot Deployment Kit and Viva Amplify. So, the good news about Copilot and generative AI is it can do so much. It can save us so much time. It can make us so much more productive, as I'll share in a little bit with some of the latest research. But also, there is so much. There is so much, and there's so much you can do with it. And how do you share that with your employees? How do you make sure they're leveraging all of these features to the best of their ability? So with this new deployment kit, you can seamlessly onboard users onto Copilot for M365 with pre-built content and customizable communication. So you don't have to figure that out on your own from scratch. You have a place to start. There's also pre-drafted weekly communications focused on how to use Copilot and M365 apps that your team is using today, like Outlook for their email, Teams for their collaboration, Word for their drafting and writing, PowerPoint for their presentation, Excel for their for all their metrics. And then tailoring and targeting communications to specific distribution channels and groups. So maybe Copilot exists in your organization, or you'd roll it out in a small step-by-step way. And if that's the case, you'd be able to target specifically to different groups in your organization. And then publishing once to multiple apps and assessing engagement through reports. So you'll be able to understand, how are people engaging with these messages? Are they resonating? What do you need to tweak? How do you need to kind of adopt your strategy to your organization?
I love Viva Amplify because Viva Amplify solved a problem that I had when I worked in Microsoft IT, rolling out capabilities to Microsoft employees, like just being where people are, right, with that messaging. And so we're talking about Copilot. We're lucky this isn't a drinking game that every time we say that word, but nonetheless, you can use this for other projects as well. Maybe you're rolling out new teams. Maybe you're making changes to your major portal inside of your organization. Amplify lets you communicate with people where they live, right? Some people like to communicate in teams. That's me. So I have a lot of colleagues who still communicate primarily in email. That's my boss. So Amplify is so powerful at being able to automate this and really improve service communications. because rolling, comms plan is not just sending one email. You have to use the whole campaign. I'm so excited about amplifying what we're doing there. And I love this pre-built content, which, by the way, is directly from Microsoft Digital, right? We refined and put in product what Microsoft Digital used to roll out Copilot to all of our employees. Very broad and complex deployment. So I'd love to see their work getting out to the world through product.
Yeah, and why I think this is so valuable too is I think that, just to be honest, I think that many of us leaders and managers and corporate comms folks, we ourselves are trying to figure out, how to make the most out of Copilot. So to ask, all of us who are trying to figure it out to come up from scratch with the best ideas to leverage and to get excited about the new technology, it's kind of too much of a weight to bear. So that's why I'm so excited that these are kind of around the Copilot specifically, because you don't have to do that alone.
Right. Because we're all learning together, but some things we've learned, and we have learned a lot from, the work that we did in our early adopter program with Copilot. Most of the materials that you'll find on adoption.microsoft.com at Copilot for our entire implementation kit were refined by that actual real world implementation that we did with hundreds of customers, including Microsoft Digital. And so, it's been an amazing journey. I love doing emerging services because you do get to learn a lot, but I just need a little help along the way. And so Viva is definitely helping in the communities of practice area, in Amplify, Viva Engage and Viva Amplify together really can serve as the essential backbone of doing a Copilot implementation. So I'm thrilled about them both. I think you have more pretty slides too.
I do have more pretty slides. So the second kind of double click I want to do here is Copilot Academy. So again, as you'll see in a few slides when I go into some of the latest research, employees are excited about generative AI. They're experimenting with it on their own, but they also kind of wonder about how to skill up on it. And that's where the Copilot Academy comes in. So these are curated learning paths. They're out of the box. You don't need to configure them at the admin level. They include hands-on prompt guidance. They're available in 8 languages. And they allow employees to kind of learn on their own time, discover, and kind of explore at their own pace. Take one course or dive a little deeper and take a whole path. And so I think this is really invaluable because I think, the slide we just talked about with Amplify, that's the communication. That's the just making sure everyone is aware of what's available to them. And then what comes next, right? Employees need to understand, how is this relevant to my day-to-day, and do a little exploration on their own.
I love this. And, the Academy capability, we build them for you for something like Copilot, but the ability to create academies is a fundamental part of Viva Learning in a premium license. And, it's so valuable to be able to create and curate this content that's in the flow of people's work. Because I love the Academy. It's always there and available to you right there in Microsoft Teams, in the Viva experience. As you're working in something in Copilot, you can go and check and see if you're doing things right. It really supports your experience. And it could be, again, about Copilot, but it could be about so many other things. All of our great content surfaces in Viva Learning. And so you do have that ability to customize that. And it does now integrate with SharePoint lists, which we are so excited about because we've done that customization for such a long time for customers. So, the Academy is wonderful, and, making sure people can learn as they're going is more important with a Copilot implementation than necessarily some of the other services we've seen in the past. There are definite differences in doing user enablement for generative AI versus, again, Teams or SharePoint or some other service. So I'm really excited about how Viva has really, stepped up to be this amazing Copilot enablement tool.
Yeah, and I think, especially with Copilot and generative AI, as the latest Work Trends Index research tells us, there's folks on all parts of the learning path there. There's folks who are at the very beginning. They're like, what is Copilot? What is generative AI? And then there's folks who, as you'll see in the research, are doing it on their own. like who are using all sorts of services and kind of going a little rogue and like are really advanced. And so the great thing about an academy like this, or like Caruana said, any academy you might build around any technology or anything you're rolling out in your organization, is that it can meet them where they're at on that journey. Oh no, I am getting a restart your computer notification. So hopefully that doesn't happen soon.
Oh, you can postpone it at least once, at least till
Yeah,
we have,
we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Okay.
If you disappear, I'll soldier on.
Okay. Thank you. We take security very seriously here at Microsoft. Yeah. We really do.
Yeah. You do have to update that device 100%. Don't delay it more than that, folks. If you're out there in the field, you see a Windows update, do it now. But after our show.
Yeah. Okay, so measuring the impact of your Copilot investment. So this is the final double click I wanted to do for Roadmap. And this is just our Microsoft Copilot dashboard. It's powered by Viva, and it really helps leaders and IT leaders, business decision makers kind of plan your journey. So plan your readiness, evaluate your adoption, analyze your impact, see employee sentiment, and also learn about the latest research and findings. So this is kind of your hub, I don't know, like for lack of a better word, your place where you can both see how your organization is doing and also learn more as a leader and a decision maker. Anything you want to add there?
No, I mean, I know we're going to continue to talk about this. People are always asking about ROI. This dashboard is essential part of understanding that, especially combined with usage reports that are in the admin center. But I do want to just say that looking at these reports is wonderful. Talking to humans is actually better, right? You want to make sure that you're also getting actual feedback from employees whenever you do a technology rollout, and especially across a Viva implementation or a Copilot implementation, because those people are going to give you insights that the report will show you a return on your investment. But to really understand satisfaction, you need to do some other things. And there's other parts of Viva that are great for that. And so just making sure that we don't confuse, the return on investment, the actual usage and enablement reports with true employee satisfaction, because they are two different things. And you're going to tell us more about all of that, aren't you, Lucy?
I am. We're going to talk a lot about how Glint and Pulse can support with that, making sure that you're not just kind of looking at the numbers, but you're evaluating that side by side with, what your employees are actually telling you.
Absolutely. That's great. Look, and now we have our great primary topic. So this is the part where you should be sitting back and relaxing. And Lucy is going to be our special guest this month and take us on a deep dive through this latest research and making sure you understand those enablement opportunities. And then, so make sure to keep those questions coming in chat or get ready to come on air with us. Lucy, take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about the latest research we have on AI-powered work. I want to talk about accelerating Copilot enablement with Viva. We've covered a little bit of that, but what that can really look like in a programmatic sense. And then we'll go into resources and Q&A. And we will hope that the update doesn't make me shut down. If so, we will pass it over to Caruana to kind of take it home until I can pop back on. So we know that implementing generative AI at scale creates a competitive advantage for organizations. Leaders, decision makers tell us this. But employees are really adopting AI more quickly than organizations can build plans and visions. So you'll see on the slide, and please check out the 2024 Work Trend Index annual report if you haven't already, that 79% of leaders believe their company needs to adopt AI to stay competitive, but 60% worry that their organization's leadership are not ready for the plan, the vision, and then kind of like reaping the rewards of creating all these productivity and time-saving gains. And the second finding in that second column there, I also wanted to call out that there's a big opportunity here for employees, at an individual level as well for skilling. And that's, I think, where Copilot Academy can really come into play to show folks how to best leverage those skills. And then the rise of the AI power user and what they reveal about the future. So I think you'll see here in this third column, AI creates a lot more employee satisfaction, but But that's also related to, the growth of a company and the success of a company. So while generative AI technology is here, enterprise AI adoption really needs a strategy. And we know that rapid adoption of new technology led by consumers is harder in the complex enterprise in a larger organization. And innovative companies and early adopters keep up through strategies that engage employees. And that's why, Viva is so central to a successful adoption of a technology like Copilot. So the opportunity ahead, 65% of employees say they don't have the right skill sets to fully take advantage of AI tools. And optimizing time saved from AI adoption on the right side of the slide, 1.2 hours is the average weekly time savings. I think it would probably be much larger and could grow from there if there was more kind of knowledge about how to create more impact and more technology that can help us do that. So key questions early leaders are kind of asking in this landscape are, how's your organization's Copilot experience been so far? How do you expect Copilot to transform work? These are questions we're hearing directly from leaders that we talk to. What metrics and insights do you need to assess Copilot impact? How do you see Copilot impacting the employee experience, productivity, and performance of the workforce? What are the metrics and inputs that we need to have to determine whether to expand Copilot to additional users? And so kind of this next piece is designed to answer some of these questions and talk about how you can accelerate Copilot enablement with Viva. So Viva has kind of 3 categories. Our apps are kind of grouped around 3 categories. The first is communication, the second is skilling, and the third is measurement. And so for communications, when it comes to Copilot enablement and measurement, communications, communicating Copilot rollout across multiple channels. We talked about that with Amplify, right? Identifying champions and setting goals to assist in Copilot adoption. A lot of this is where Viva goals can come in. Sharing knowledge and expertise via communities. So we're talking about Viva Engage and how it can support there. And then moving on to the skilling bucket, like with Copilot Academy, identifying knowledge gaps and opportunities for upskilling, target learning experiences, creating a Copilot knowledge base. So you have that internally, specifically related to your company, to your industry. And then measurement, understanding readiness, usage, and adoption trends, quantifying productivity gains, and measuring user sentiment, creating custom views with additional business context. And this, again, I think is also where, as Caruana kind of mentioned, we don't just want that measurement to come from the metrics, but from what employees are telling us through Glint and through Pulse. So Viva for communications, I talked about a lot of this, but specifically, they're the community and conversations, they're centralized campaign management. So you're kind of centralizing your message around Copilot and kind of moderating it a little bit. Pre-built email, page, and campaign templates, and communication, analytics, and reporting. And then for skilling, AI-powered skills profile, personalized learning paths, curated learning paths, and academy. And finally, for measurement, your customizable adoption and readiness dashboard, your employee surveys and sentiment, your behavioral and collaboration analytics. How is Copilot impacting all of those areas in your organization? You should be able to know, and you can know with Viva. So I'm not going to go too much into depth on this slide, but this just kind of shows sort of what I spoke to, which is how each of the apps can contribute to the acceleration of your and Copilot adoption. So this slide is really around the different, on a more programmatic level. How do you do this? How do you roll out Copilot or another technology that is both has great opportunity, but also can feel complex and emerging and new. So the first column is get ready. So using the Copilot dashboard to prepare for Copilot rollout, and then using templatized survey tools like Glint or Pulse to gather feedback, identify obstacles to adoption, create and track goals and Viva goals for Copilot deployment and adoption. And then the second phase, onboard and engage. So again, you're going to continue to use the Copilot dashboard. You'll see that kind of throughout. You're going to use Copilot Academy to train employees on the critical skills. You're going to develop communities so there can kind of be that peer-to-peer experience. which is where we've seen even internally folks learn the most. You're going to run iterative AI communication campaigns on Copilot launch and use cases. And then with advanced Copilot reports, you can get data beyond 28 days. You can bring in data from other parts of your organization so that you can have a much more robust data set to look at, depending on what you care about in your organization as success metrics, for a technology investment. In the third column, again, as I said, the Copilot dashboard is sort of your partner through and through, but then measuring business value of Copilot with their pre-built templates, gathering survey feedback, updating progress against goals, and of course, the in-app Copilot within Viva Goals would really help you do that. So you'd be able to kind of really quickly share progress summary. And coming soon, we're also going to have built-in templates into the app that specifically are around Copilot adoption, so that you don't even have to really make those up from scratch. They'll just be there, and then you can modify as needed. And then this fourth phase, extend and optimize. So you're going to develop an employee app to connect your workforce to what they need. You're going to capture Q&A, make sure it's recorded, and then everyone can see kind of the major topics and questions that are coming up. And you're going to continue to use those employee survey tools to understand how you can continue to grow and optimize. So this slide, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. This just shows you kind of what's included with your M365 license, what's included with Copilot for M365, and then what is included with the Viva license. So for those watching who want to know, okay, well, what's available with my Copilot for M365 license? Viva Connections is kind of your gateway to Copilot communications. It allows you to create this one-stop shop for where employees can land, and you can tailor that based on employee groups, roles, geos, so you can give really targeted news around Copilot, and it's powered by AI, of course, and the Microsoft Graph. Engage, so that's going to be, this is also, our seeded value, so you can create a community, you can host virtual town halls, share success stories of Copilot, saving time and driving productivity, access company announcements, share best practices like prompts. And again, this is, all built from what we have used in-house, and kind of then vetted and said, hey, this is a great tool that we think other organizations could really benefit from. Copilot Academy, which I already touched on, and then Copilot Dashboard. Now, available with a Viva license, you get kind of a deeper, as I mentioned, deeper level of data in your Copilot reports from Viva Insights. So you're going to be able to have a pre-built report template that can be more tailored and customizable. And you're going to be able to also create a report from scratch and bring in any data that you would like from other sources in your organization that's important for you to see. So you'll see on here dynamic data slices, trend lines, group and filter by any organizational attribute. So just much more interactive, less static. And, maybe, kind of the deeper dive that folks are looking for. And then with Glint. So this is, being able to understand Copilot impact, gather use cases, measure growth, and employee sentiment before, during, and after. And then for Viva Pulse, capturing feedback and insights from pilot users. So from kind of smaller groups, gathering use cases directly relevant to your organization. And sample survey questions here that are kind of built in are on a scale of 1 to 5. How satisfied are you with Copilot's ability to understand and respond to your queries? How often do you use Copilot in day-to-day work? Would you recommend to your colleagues, etc.? So how this might look from a and then, so for this one, we already talked about Viva Amplify and sort of how it can help you with those communications across, all of the M365 channels that you currently use today. So a few specific pieces of Copilot and Viva Engage I want to make sure that we call out here are the Copilot adoption community. So this is a custom-made community. I just want to get really specific about what's included here because I think it's really, really cool. And again, this would be, with the Viva license, this kind of deeper level of Viva Engage. So You'll get an onboarding checklist. It'll recommend pre-seeded content conversation starters. It'll include answers. It'll have an intelligent importer, so you can generate and add your own Q&A. You'll have leader announcements. You'll have a leadership corner, and you'll have a campaigns area where you can build campaigns for Copilot based on what people are talking about. As people post comments to the campaign, Copilot helps draft responses, provides analytics around engagement. So you're really starting to see
Oh dear, it may have happened to her. It may have happened. Uh, Lucy was forced to reboot. That's thank you, Microsoft Digital, our Microsoft IT folks, for keeping us safe. That's an important component of any technology implementation. So we've talked about so much of this content. And I saw a question out there in the chat. Where can I get these slides? These slides are going to be available, but a good deal of what you're seeing today you can find in the adoption and enablement kit for Microsoft Copilot. Adoption.microsoft.com, WAC Copilot. We have a specific deck that is for using Copilot. Using Microsoft Viva for Copilot enablement. And we're really excited about that. But I also want to share. I know that Copilot is the topic for today, and of course, it's a big deal, right? We're stepping into the era of AI. We have these tools that are now built in to the kinds of applications that people use and love every day, and also there's an investment of time and effort that is involved in doing these sorts of rollouts. But Microsoft Viva has so many capabilities that are good for an organization in terms of how you drive employee engagement, transform your culture, and make sure you're providing people support along their user journey. You know, technology implementations have created some trust issues out there in the world with employees. And so it's important to be present and to support them. The Viva Engage community is a real part of that strategy. The community and the technology available in Viva Engage to host a community is wonderful, but you really do have to have those champions and community managers. It is the people and the human connection that you create in a community, like we're doing with all of you today, that actually matters. And so, you know, I know we talk about a lot of different components of the Viva suite. We talk about all the different components across Microsoft 365, but remember that it's really about the people and the employee experience. Are there scenarios that people are using these tools and technologies for that is meaningful to them and to their role in your organization? I couldn't be happier about Pulse and the pre-built surveys that are created in there. In many of our former adoption and enablement kits, we would do that in Microsoft Forms, and you still can. But I prefer Glint, obviously, and Pulse because of the approach and the analytics that comes with it right out of the box. You know, we've evolved that ability to have a two-way conversation with our employees. And so make sure that you're really listening first, right? Drive that open culture of people providing feedback, because in a Copilot implementation, you're going to see that feedback much more quickly than you did in other technology projects you may have done in the past. And that is why I recommend that you really think about using all the elements of Microsoft Viva along your journey to becoming AI powered. You need those tools. The pace of this change is much faster. In many ways, it's more complex. And you also have the anxiety that introducing AI into your organization can create in your user population. You want to address those things and really engage with people so that they understand that this is an assistive technology, right? Generative AI brings me more capacity to bring my special talents to bear in my organization. And this becomes a part of your workforce transformation strategy. Everyone should be thinking about how they are skilling their employees to make the most of these new capabilities and help them along in their career journey. That's one of the things that we're committed to at Microsoft, and why we build these tools and have these communities at scale and do so much great work on Microsoft Learn and other places, so that people can use this as an opportunity to build your career, build your skill set. Think about, what do you want to be doing a year from now in this industry? So Yes, these are tools that we can help our employees with, but they're also tools that we can use to help ourselves and really understand how this workforce transformation, how AI in your particular organization is going to impact your employees. Creating that two-way dialogue with these tools is really essential. Analyzing it and then moving it through the implementation framework you saw, that fourth pillar is all about extending and optimizing your implementation. And so you're taking information that you gather in these communities from these communication things, and you're able to use that to make further decisions. Welcome back, Lucy. Hi.
Hi. I updated my software just yesterday, but anyway, I'm back.
Well,
I'm back here now.
that's what happens. This is a live show, and that's what makes these live shows so much fun because anything can happen. It's not like a pre-recorded video. It's fantastic. Well, I'll have you bring the slides back up. I think we can kind of go a little bit towards the end. I just addressed how folks can be able to get these slides. I told them about the hub for Copilot enablement that is available and out there. And I think that now we can take some Q&A from our community. And I think you had some other questions as well. So let's get started with that part.
Yeah. Oh, we have one on the screen right now. What is the difference between an external Teams community and an external Viva Engage community? Also, compare external Viva Engage groups to external Teams channels.
That is a fantastic question because, at Microsoft, we believe in options. We believe in giving people options. Occasionally, we give a few too many. So I have a more practical answer to that question, actually. That may or may not go with, some of the other published materials. I really think the answer to this depends on two things: the size of your organization and how you're going to monitor and engage with that community. People in larger organizations use both Teams and Viva Engage because, of course, Teams has a limit to how many people can be in an individual team. But more importantly, it's not actually built for that. Right? Teams is really built for collaboration on projects amongst groups of folks who are commonly work together. Now, that it can include external guests as well, but it's really a core collaboration hub. Viva Engage to me is a community experience purpose built for driving communities. As you said before, as Lucy was talking, the leadership corner, the ability to mark things as asked and answered, the insights that you get there, the resources on the rail, and this ability to host a community externally is really a fantastic way of driving engagement with customers, with partners, and with employees. So I favor Microsoft Viva Engage for anything that involves a large external community. I actually don't use Teams for that. And so that's normally my recommendation. Now, if you're a really small organization and, maybe you're in a smaller company, maybe you have, 400 or 500 employees and the customer base that you have is pretty small, then you could use Teams for this. And then you have the advantage of everything being in one place, which in a smaller organization is very, very helpful to really consolidate everything and using Teams as your hub for work, whether it's external or internal. So I think it really depends on the size of your organization. But Lucy, what do you think about that?
I think from even just my personal, we use Viva Engage very robustly internally. And of course, we also use Microsoft Teams. And just using my own personal experience, there's a lot going on in Teams, especially if you're part of a large organization. You have a little group chat for everything. You have like a team within a team. There's a lot going on. And I think Viva Engage both kind of clarifies what's the most important, what are the most important things going on in your organization. It also can be serve as kind of where the most important information lives that can, kind of loop in your knowledge base into it in a more centralized way. And it also gives leadership some oversight and kind of like connective tissue in really just a more, I think, visual centralized interface, if that makes sense. But I
That
agree,
makes
Carol,
perfect sense.
I agree with you around if you're a smaller organization, it could be a different situation for you. But I think, yeah, that's my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you out there, you may not know, we have what's called a modern collaboration architecture. And that MoCA information is available on adoption.microsoft.com. And it's really a people centric view of what tool when. People have been asking me what tool when since I started in this business like 30 years ago. And, the answer is never simple. And it really does depend on your industry, the size of your organization, the licensing that you have, and the staff that you have, to be able to help people use the technology. Because it's never about the tech, it's about people's ease of access, right? Especially in a community. You don't want any friction between people getting into your community. So that was a really long answer to an excellent question. I hope that was helpful. If you have a follow up, put it in the chat and we will come back to that as well. Lucy, what else? What other questions do we have? I think you had one.
I have one. So, I think obviously I'm very close to the product. I'm very close to the research. But Caruana, you spend, I would say, not a majority, but a good deal of your time going to conferences, talking to both people who are customers, people who aren't customers, and leaders across kind of every organization and vertical. So I want to understand from you, what stands out to you when you look at, I think where the industry is when it comes to where customers are, when it comes to wrapping their head around generative AI, and what you think are the most useful features just based on your experience.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I have what I call my mother-in-law test. If I can explain the technology to my mother-in-law and she gets it, then I know I have my messaging down. And I feel like if you are beginning this journey with Copilot, that being able to explain why does Copilot matter, why does generative AI matter in your particular business, is really the cornerstone to all the other work. And, in our implementation guide, we talk so much about making sure that you have the right executive stakeholders at the table and picking the right scenarios and cohorts of users to onboard. Because, if you use some of those traditional methods, if you start an implementation without an executive sponsor, as oftentimes people do, boy, you quickly get into trouble when it comes to a Copilot implementation because there's new policies, there's data and security concerns, there's new conversations you need to have. And hopefully, you're using my essay about how to create an AI council in your organization, because Copilot is one part of generative AI, but AI in general as a topic for your business is something that if you're not thinking about it now from a leadership perspective and a business strategy perspective, that you really need to be doing. And I feel like the customers who understand that, who understand that this isn't all about efficiencies, this is about revenue growth, this is about launching new products more quickly, this is about employee retention, right? This is about so many things other than the common fear of workforce transformation and efficiencies, right? Those things exist as well. But it's been really interesting to see that leadership journey. And then the other thing that I think at Microsoft we have to remember is we're way ahead of people, right? We are way ahead of the market as it is today. And so I don't want people to feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so behind, right? I don't even understand any of this and I'm so behind. Just exhale. It's going to be fine. We have lots of training and tools for you. You can lean in the community. We will help you along this journey, and you can understand what this is going to mean. This is like the advent of the cloud, but it is happening a lot faster. But nonetheless, you can learn how this will be relevant to you, and you're not late to the party. We're here and we're ready to help people. I think that anxiety is a real blocker, even neurologically, to learning. And I find a lot of anxiety right now, much like when people were thinking about moving to the cloud. There was a lot of stress about it and a lot of security concerns. We have that same stress and security concerns here, and they feel even more intense. And so, I feel like our job, since we have the benefit of being so close to this, is to help people understand that it's not a frightening journey. It needs to be walked into with open eyes and responsible AI principles. But it is definitely something that even the smallest organization can get, value out of. So it's really exciting. I'm a little bit of a convert now, but I had to go through that process. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
immune to freaking out when something new lands on my desk, right? So
Yeah. And I think also, what differentiates this from the cloud transition is that anybody can use generative AI today versus the transition to the cloud may have been something that, IT decision makers and leaders at companies were very, very focused on, but maybe the average employee didn't have as much interaction or kind of engagement with. And so
that's
I think
right.
that's where there's also this kind of, where are our employees in this journey? Where are we? Like, what do we want to get out of this? And I think knowing your why, like you have talked about the scenarios, is so, and we have a scenario library actually on the adoption site. I don't know if you mentioned that earlier, I think, but I want to just underline that is so important, because, I think technology for technology's sake really doesn't get you where you need to go. And so I think that's also what's happening too. On the one hand, folks are learning this technology, and simultaneously they're trying to figure out what to do with this technology and how it's really going to benefit them.
Absolutely. And you just bring up one other thing I want to address, which is your employees are likely already using this technology. It's available for free on the internet, right? You people can go out there and start trying this out today. They can build prompts. So the question you have to ask yourself as, somebody in an organization is, do you want them using the, internet-based versions of all these technologies that you don't have any control over, or do you want them in Microsoft 365 within the boundary of your tenant with the promise of our responsible AI principles and data and security controls, where you can manage this experience appropriately and have it go against even more valuable data, frankly, that happens to be your own, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that people sometimes think that they can stave off new technology by simply not addressing it. But that's not what's happening in the market today, right? People are going to go and learn this on their own. And your question is, do you want to govern that and manage that in your organization and use our tools to do that? Or do you want to, roll the dice with the free stuff? I don't know. As a former IT pro, former IT professional and a larger, I like that's not a thing I would be betting my badge on. I would want to have some management over the Copilot capabilities or the AI capabilities that my employees are using.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
would make me sleep better at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I think I have one. Oh, great question. We have a lot of work to do. Oh, or great comment. We have a lot of work to do to lift everyone to a certain level of digital competency. And I love all these new features.
that is such a great comment, because I was just having this conversation the other day with customers, but I've had it a bunch of times, which is, you know, obviously, again, we're talking about Copilot because it's an important new capability. But the existing capabilities in Microsoft 365 are really the underlying tools that you have. So SharePoint and OneDrive and Microsoft Teams, your data lives there, right? And it may also live in Fabric. It may also live in other SQL databases, but just at a very basic information worker level, you've got documents, you've got conversations, you got presentations, and of course, data in communities. And so making sure that people really understand that. So maybe you're not ready in your organization yet to implement Copilot, but now's the time to start and make sure, take another run at lighting up your champions in an organization so that people can really understand how to use Teams and how to use SharePoint and how to use those two things together, right? To do smart saving and get data in the right place the first time. That's, in documents. Really important to lift that digital capability of everyone, and then introduce AI capabilities to the plate. So I couldn't be more true. And I've done a lot of work in governance in M365 over time, and a lot of the readiness that you have to do for a Copilot implementation is the same governance and information architecture that I have personally been preaching to all of you for 12 years. So now's the time, right? Check out those policies, have that council, make it fun, have fun along the way.
I have one final question before we go. Um, So, and I'll answer first and then I want to hear your response. What's one way you've used Copilot either, in tandem with Viva or totally separately from Viva, that kind of really lit your eyes up? For me, it was when I came back from maternity leave, I used Copilot to essentially re-onboard myself. So I literally put into Copilot and Teams, what did I miss? And it aggregated all of my data across Outlook as well. And it really gave me the highlights. It didn't give me, of course, everything because that would not be useful, but it really gave me the highlights and a great place to start. And then I asked, what's coming up for me next and what's coming up for my org next? Like, what are the big moments? And it gave me a really great list, including people to contact. And it truly gave me my to-do list for my first week back from mat leave. So that was just something I was kind of just messing around. I didn't, I would think I was so overwhelmed. I just typed that into Copilot just on a whim. And it really, really helped me. So that's one. And then with Viva, it's the Copilot and Viva goals. I mean, I've truly seen that within my own org be used as a tool to come up with goals around certain areas and then sort of start refining from there, and like as a collaborative tool within the goals app. So yeah, I'm curious to hear kind of what have been your little light bulb moments.
Those are great ones. And I never thought of that return scenario. That's a fantastic one. I love that. I actually do that every day. Right. And so every day I'm like, summarize my inbox and summarize the last, most important emails from my manager. I have it do that because, people who know me know that I'm not super great with the thousands of emails that come in constantly. I am a Teams person. I made that transition a long time ago. But in my new job with a bigger remit, I have a lot of email now too. From different constituencies and organizations inside Microsoft, as well as a lot of stuff in Teams. And that kind of took me over the edge of information overload. I was doing pretty good in Teams, but if you add that, big pile of email back in there too. So I really use Copilot to help me manage my day. It's the first thing I do every morning is do that. And, I have to write in this new role more strategy documents and more documents than I've written in a while. And I have used Copilot to get me over that blank page. Right. And also, I will just, start writing something and just kind of stream of consciousness, like how I would talk about a topic, which is often how I get to my central ideas, and have Copilot refine that. It makes my writing better. I'm a reasonably good writer on my own, but boy, Copilot is better, right? And so I feel like the quality of my work is better, as well as I feel more in charge of my day by having Copilot help me understand what's happening around me. And to your point, who do I need to be talking to at any given time, right? And so, I really have had a lot of success with those scenarios. And I can't. And I'm always telling people, well, have Copilot write it. Somebody says, oh, I have to write this thing and yada, yada. I'm like, why are you starting with anything? Like, tell Copilot and go from there, because it just accelerates the process. Right. And then you put your special sauce on it. So,
yeah,
but again, all of these things that are happening, or these assistive technologies, these technologies that allow us to be even more creative and more productive. I know that they introduce a fair amount of anxiety out in the world, but once you get past the why does it matter for me? Why does this matter? When I had what we call my aha moment with Copilot, when I was like, oh, now I understand what this thing can do. Wow, what can it do for my team? Once you go along that journey, you're along with us, right? Once you're thinking about how it can impact your team or your business process. And so now I'm thinking about things like that. And I'm also excited about what's coming next. So it's very, very good. And I'm really excited. Oh, look, we have another Hi Fairy Geek Mother. Been using Copilot with Teams to take the note-taking out of meeting activity. Yes, ma'am. Me too. Summarizing with Copilot has allowed us to pay more attention to our agenda via meeting recap. That intelligent meeting recap has changed my world. I was just telling a friend last night, like, I used to think the only way I understood information and really committed it to memory was to write my own notes. I don't
Mhm.
take any notes anymore at work. And I actually am I'm retaining just as much, maybe because I'm focused more in those
Mhm.
meetings. I'm listening to the people because I know, and I'll say things, okay, for co-pilot recording, we all need to do foo because it's making that action item list as we
Mhm.
go. Ah,
Mhm.
it's just so brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you don't even have to say that. It will I've been in meetings where I haven't been able to attend, and it like, no one has said, "Hey, Copilot, do this," but it'll say, like it'll tag me and say, "Lucy hits your outcome is, do this thing." And it's actually very helpful. Or it'll say, "Your name was mentioned at the 30-minute mark." And so I don't I can kind of start there if I'm watching a recording as opposed to having to maybe watch the whole thing, which is not necessary.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly. No, I think that has been a game changer, and it is one of the favorite features, of Copilot M365 is that meeting recap, that capability. Now, of course, again, that's one of the things that you have to have a little policy discussion inside your organization. It does require you turn on transcription at a minimum. Recording the meeting is the best to get you the most robust experience. But if your organization has concerns about that or different unique retention policies like we have in finance and in some regulated industries, then that's something to have a conversation about internally. But for most of us in kind of standard commercial enterprises, small to medium business, what have you, you can record those meetings that you're having very easily and get that maximum value from the Copilot implementation you're doing. So it's just a lot of fun. Just like this community call with you, Lucy. Thank you for going on this journey. I know you've been a proponent of the Viva community for a very long time. All it takes is one person to make a community awesome and to have a vision, and that has been you. And there's lots of other folks around Microsoft who feel strongly about the Viva community. So we are going to come back every month at this time, same channel. And we'll also make sure as we go forward, we'll have a sign up for you. You can watch us live and you can get the links and have lots of fun. But if you want the slides, we're going to ask you to sign up for our newsletter and we'll have that sign up available for you next week. We'll make sure to get these slides out to everyone. And as I mentioned before, the majority of them are available in the Copilot implementation kit and this special supplemental deck that is available to use Copilot for your Viva implementation. So for Copilot, Viva for your Copilot implementation. Woo, I'll get that right. uh, excellent.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Caruana, and everyone who joined today. And I know you and I could probably just sit here and chat all day long, but we won't. So thank you, everybody, for joining and those who are maybe watching after the fact. And we'll see you next month.
See you soon.